Well, it's Thursday and 4 p.m., so welcome to Lacrosse Talk, NLL style. I'm Candid Frank. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs. 2016 forward. Now joining me alone for a change. We're alone today doing the
We
show with
are. We are.
Carrie and Frank, and I don't know. So, how did you first start? The first question I usually ask every week is, "How did you start?"
That's funny. That's a funny story because I was young, and I was sent to Howie Meeker's hockey camp. If you remember Howie Meeker
Yep.
of the National Hockey League in Maple.
Jiminy Crickets.
That was him, and he had that show on CBC TV and his hockey school. And I
Right.
was sent there. I was God no, I was young. It was the first time I was ever away from home for a couple of weeks at this boarding school. And one of the off ice activities was lacrosse. And I had never seen it. I'd never really done anything with it. And I loved it. And I fell in love with it, and I never looked back from then. So that's my story on how I got involved in all this. But yeah, we were able to crown a champion this past week, Frank. We have another NLL
Yeah.
champion, and it's funny because poor Buffalo. They've been there so many times. They have such great teams, but they always seem to be the bridesmaid and never the bride. The last time
Right.
they raised the cup was 2008. They were in the finals in 2006 and lost to Colorado. Same mirror thing as this one, where it was they were the odds-on favorites and they didn't win. 2016 they were there and they didn't win. 2019, I remember a few years just before COVID, and they were playing Calgary, and they were again the odds-on favorites. And the upset of upsets in two straight games, Calgary took them out. And now this, and a lot of them spent the year telling media that was in their bellies, and that's what fueled them for this year. And they're not going to let that. And here we are again. And
Wow.
I have to admit, Buffalo played a great series. They did. They played a spectacular series. They did everything that they possibly could to win. But usually we're talking about Matt Vince being an absolute stonewall. Well, Dylan Ward for Colorado was an absolute stone wall. He faced 65 shots, 61 shots, 60 something in there. He made 55 saves, which is an NLL record in that game. So it's not like Buffalo didn't throw a lot of rubber on that net. He had a couple of butterfly moments at the beginning of the game, and from that point on, he was basically unbeatable, and that had to get into the Buffalo heads after a while.
Well, they had a good start. I mean, they led after the first quarter 3-2, and then unfortunately, they were outscored 5-2 in the second, and they just never recovered. They were not able to get them again every time they scored. Of course, Colorado did. Colorado kept the lead. They were very disciplined in the way they played. They very conservative, I guess. And with Buffalo's great offense, if they can't score, defending's not their strength.
No, it's not. But for Colorado, it is. Colorado had a
Right.
terrific defense. And, kudos to the coaches. They were never, anytime you took a look at the bench, they were never disheveled. They always graced under pressure. They always had a plan. They always, they knew what they were doing. But, you got to talk about a character win. Now,
Mm.
remember, Ryan Lee was out, their number one scorer. He was out the entire playoffs with a leg injury. Just
Not just him.
before game time of game one, Eli McLaughlin, their number two scorer, came down with an injury, and he was out for the entire series, which led to a number of head games going on because before game three, he was put onto the list of players active, and he even did the pregame warmups and all that. And just prior to game time, they scratched him, and So I'm sure they're trying to do the one-upmanship and get into Buffalo's heads a little bit. It might have worked, but Colorado all season has had the next man up mentality. And who was that this time? Zed Williams. Pretty good guy, I would say, to be next man up. If you take a look at his lineage, Six Nations, always been in the thick of things. Senior B, he's won with Six Nations. He's been with the Chiefs, also as a top-notch team. He was a standout with Georgia. Colorado picked him up for this season, and wow, what a time to be picked up. Colorado made a couple of moves that were just absolutely outstanding. They picked up Gibson at the trade deadline. They picked up Joaquim at the deadline. Both became very crucial to the Cup run and this series in particular. Tyson Gibson had a goal. Everything came. Should I say everything they touched turned to gold for this series. I think one of the biggest turning points probably would have been the third quarter, where there was only one goal, and it was a power play goal by Buffalo. But you take a look at shots on goal, and Buffalo was all over them and just couldn't get it past Dylan Ward. Yes, they did tie it. I had a little feeling when they tied it up in the fourth, just 27 seconds in when Connor Fields scored. It was 7-7. Thinking, okay, well, you have 19,000 plus fans, a sold out house for this game, and now they're all rocking and rolling. Everybody's partying. 3 minutes later, here's Zed Williams. Boom. And then 2 minutes after that, Chris Wardle. All of a sudden, it's quiet again in Manditland. 19,000.
They didn't do enough to get past that hump. If they could have just scored, I really believe, Gary, if they had scored a goal or two more,
if Buffalo would have gone up 8-7, I think it could have been an entirely different thing, because then they would have rolled that energy.
But the door was closed, slammed shut.
Which is why Dylan Ward was named MVP. I would have said if he wasn't MVP, Zed Williams should have been, because every goal that Williams put in throughout this series was just absolutely instrumental in them winning. He made it perfectly clear at the beginning of this game that he wasn't going to be stopped by anything. If you were going to go and block, he's going to carry two guys with him to the net. He's going to set picks. He's a big man. You're not going to move him. He has the gift of a howitzer for a shot. So in close or far away, he's going to get these shots off, and he's going to score a lot of them. And he did. He scored from far. He scored from in close. He set the tone of how the Buffalo defense was going to have to play, because if they didn't pay enough attention to him, he was coming in. And if they overly paid attention to him, guys like Connor Robinson, Firth, a few other guys, Tyson Gibson, these guys were available and free, because if you double teamed them, one of these guys was left open, and sure enough, he gave that defense fits. So
Buffalo, well, look, when it comes to what Colorado did, Gary, sometimes, when teams, players, organizations are challenged and they come up with an answer, it doesn't have to be a big answer, but they can really build on that. And I think the biggest thing that Colorado had going for them, we heard after the game, the players talk about it almost uniformly, is that nobody thought they could do it because of the injuries. And they took that as a motivator, and they really did enhance it, and they really did use it. And they played like they didn't want to lose, not afraid to lose. They weren't going to lose. And that's, how championships are created. You talked about Buffalo, the frustration that they've had over the past few years. It's amazing how teams end up in that situation, where they just can't make that, that step. I'm not saying the last step, but in this case, yes, the last step. They just couldn't make the last step. I think next year they'll come back strong again, and hopefully they'll get back there and get close to a championship, because they looked really good. They played really well, and it really hurts when the goaltender can't be beaten.
Yeah, and you feel, you get that helpless feeling, right? Where that goalie's on, and put the shoe on the other foot. How many
and then
times
you squeeze your stick too hard?
That too, but how many times has Matt Vince done that to other teams. He did it. He did it with Rochester when they won their 3 in a row. He's done it with Buffalo for a number of years now. And the point that I was making on a different show was when Matt Vince isn't superhuman, what got exposed to me was the defense isn't superhuman either. They are a bit above average, I would say, but I don't think they're that spectacular defense that's going to absolutely shut the door if their goalie isn't playing great. They rely a lot on Matt Vince being able to make that save. They're very good at being able to dictate where their oppositions are going to take their shots from. But if the opposition is feeling it, like a guy like Zed Williams is able to put it in from just about anywhere, it's very difficult when Matt Vince isn't playing superhumanly to be that shut it down kind of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, congratulations, Colorado. Way to go. We have a new champion for the first time since 2006. They haven't raised the cup. So, it's nice to see somebody else raise it for a change.
Well, it's an organization that, as much as you want to talk about Buffalo and not being able to get there, Colorado has been probably, by my estimation, especially in the West, the most consistent team in the West over the past decade or so. So, winning it shouldn't be a surprise because they've kind of knocked at the door for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. They have. They've had to sit and wait their turn with Saskatchewan being as good as they have been for a number of years. Saskatchewan / Edmonton. But yeah, they've always been. I almost felt sorry for them because they had to go up against these guys in the playoffs every single year, and that team was just unbelievable when they were at their prime. And this was their turn, and they took full advantage of it, and here we are. And kudos. They say you would think, if one of your top scorers is out, you're thinking, wow. But the two top scorers. Now, I want to reckon us back a little bit to the San Diego series, and Eli McLaughlin put the team on his back in that series. In fact, out of the 3 games, he had 2 sock tricks. He had 2 games where he had 6 goals in each game. In the one game, he had 6 goals and 6 assists. So, did he mean a lot to the team? Oh yeah. It was that one. That one was the one more so than Ryan Lee being out that I shook my head, going, "Wow, I can't see them really being able to overcome this one." And I'm, very happy to say, sorry guys, sorry for underestimating you. Congratulations, that was incredible. And like I say, just an absolute character win. No overly huge superstars, but everybody pulled together. Everybody did what they had to do. And if you take a look at how stifling a defense they have, very seldom did you see anybody out of position. And they're disciplined enough that, the referees let them play. There's no doubt about that. But, they were very disciplined and they didn't take stupid penalties and give that Buffalo power play an opportunity to get rolling.
And for the fans in the game.
Exactly. And that was big too, because Buffalo, their power play is deadly. And you saw it, a couple of power play goals in this game, but nothing enough for them to get rolling.
And let's not forget, Buffalo won the first game at home. Colorado won going back to Colorado. They won this game on the road. They played the perfect road game. They did. They kept the fans out of the game. I mean, as much as you can, a lacrosse fan base, they kept them out of the game, whatever that's worth. But when I was watching the game, I got the distinct impression. It was so clear to me that Colorado was just so focused, and every pass they made, and every defense that they put up, they were perfect. Like, they played the perfect road game. They deserved to win. It wasn't a game that Buffalo lost. It was a game that Colorado won. It was amazing to see how focused they were, and they really did do what they needed to be done, because Buffalo, as you said, most shots ever, tells you they were doing something right. They just couldn't get it in the net.
Yeah, you do everything you can. You shoot from everywhere, and the problem is, again, like you mentioned, eventually it gets into your head. You're gripping the stick a little bit tough. all the things that you would normally be doing, all of a sudden guys are starting to take it upon themselves to try and be that guy to help their team, all with the team in mind. Nobody was being an individual, but everybody was trying to be that guy, and that didn't work, and that's not the way Buffalo's made up. And
Yeah, and it's not like they were overemphasizing offense and giving clear opportunities to Colorado. They weren't being careless with their offense. Buffalo played a really good game.
they did well 10-8. It's not like it was 17-4. 10-8, and one of it was an empty net goal. Now, granted, the
Absolutely.
last Buffalo goal came with like 6 seconds left, so it really was didn't mean anything.
Well, they
But
should have got 2 or 3 in that last minute.
well, yeah, they just stopped.
Before that even, right? And
Just trying to kill
the
clock.
the goal that the goal that ended up extending the margin to 3 was one that was the only goal that happened because, the Buffalo offense tripped over the ball a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, again, there you see it, and you're trying to do too much at the same time, and that's what happens. But again, Colorado played, like you said, the perfect road game. They did what they had to do. They took 19,000 people out of the game 27 seconds in.
Absolutely.
Now think about it. This crowd was frenzied 3 hours, 4 hours before the game, outside the arena, and with all the drums and all the other things that go on outside
Beautiful
there,
summer
with all
night.
the celebrations and everything else, let alone all the tailgating around the corner and across the street. And everybody came in, and they were going, and everyone talking about we're going to win, and we're good, and this is going to happen, and we have a full house, and we have energy. And 27 seconds in, said Williams, boom. Mind you, Buffalo came back with 3 goals, and 2 of them by guys who were supposed to be doing the scoring, Josh Byrne and Dane Smith. And then to throw in a transition goal from Ian McKay. And you're thinking, oh, okay. But Colorado, again, grace under pressure. They never panicked. You looked at the bench, and they never panicked. They had their plan. They were going to do it. They're going to execute. They're going to get their stuff done. Full marks for standing behind them. Dylan Ward was an absolute stone wall. I can't say that enough. And because it could have easily gotten away. And he was just there, save after save after save, until Colorado got rolling. And like you said, in that second quarter, Colorado got it moving. And, once they took the lead, again, they were never really disheveled, but boy,
No.
just calm, relaxed, business as usual. And away they went. And, next man up. And
If you're a really good defensive team and you're committed to that part of the game, you're really hard to beat when you've got the lead. That's what Buffalo didn't want. I think everybody knew that Buffalo needed to come into this game, score in early, put the defensive team on the defensive, and get their offense going. They just couldn't get on track. And, again, it comes down to Colorado and I think the idea that they had players that had to step up. But it's just one of those great things that you talk about sports, when you can overcome a lot of bad stuff, and they did. The next man up mentality. We've said it before, we'll say it again, and it's important when you have players who get the opportunity and do something with it. And Colorado did that with this game. They had an opportunity to go home and tie the series, and they did.
Yeah.
And then that was basically the next step was, okay, we got nothing to lose now. We weren't supposed to win this game at home. Nobody thought we could do that. Now we're even. Let's go on the road. And they played the perfect road game again. I just to me it was a real prototypical road game that they played. And I like their offense too. It was scary at times when Buffalo did make the odd mistake. Vince had to make some saves. Let's not forget that he played a pretty good game too.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it was hard to look really good with the other guy on the other side of the rink.
Absolutely. Vince made 37 saves. That's nothing to sneeze at. He faced 47 shots. That's a lot of rubber. And he did well. I'm by no means am I saying that he didn't play a good game, but Vince has been known to be that superhuman guy that just you cannot get anything by him, and he was beatable, and they beat him. And
Yeah.
Colorado won. The the guys that were supposed to score for Colorado, you look at the list, and you had Zed Williams with 4 goals, 2 assists. Everybody else, you had 1 goal from Kinnear, 1 goal from McIntyre, 1 goal from Gibson, transition goal from Watkin. You had Sam Firth, who he was actually the replacement for Ryan Lee. And when they made that announcement at the beginning of the playoffs, a bunch of us went, "Who? Who?" Well, he got his first NLL playoff goal, and he made a name for himself on top of that. And the one that came to mind the most was Chris Wardle, because he had a goal, but he also had 5 assists. And Captain Robert Hope on defense, steady as steady will be, 3 assists. So the guys who had to step up, stepped up.
Yeah, they did.
So, it's to me, it was just an all-around great win. Now, the other thing is the league has to be really, really excited about this, because they set a record for attendance for the 3 games. It was over 42,000 between the 3 games, which is pretty incredible. Of the 2 teams that you had to have in the finals, you had, I believe, the 2 teams with the best attendance, one from West, one from the East. And
NHL
when
teams.
you're trying to do TV, it's so much easier when you have full houses and lots of noise and energy and all the rest of that. And now this could be your showcase piece. And it's exactly what happened. And you had great lacrosse. You had great games. All 3 games had spectacular everything. You wanted spectacular goals, we had that. We had highlight reel goals. You wanted hard hitting, we had that. You wanted great plays, we had that. You wanted great saves, we had. The only thing we was missing, I was kind of joking with everybody else, was we needed an overtime win for the cup. That's the only thing that was missing from this. And we had an overtime game earlier in the playoffs with Toronto and Halifax. So we had everything in this playoffs as your showcase piece for both ESPN and TSN. So I think that the league should hold their head very, very high about how this was presented, how it was done. I think that the production value was top notch in all the games, and the commentators were top notch in all the games. And for this to be the next step to the league moving forward and building and growing, they made a huge step throughout this playoffs, because I don't remember anybody talking about, oh, this should have happened. Oh, that should have happened. Oh, the reffing was, I even forgot that we had refs at some points in this game, which was the way it's supposed to be. And, we had guys, as in Cardonio, we had a few other guys in it. And these are guys who are normally, what does he do? They were terrific. Obviously, the league had a mandate how they were going to ref these games, and they stuck to it, and they let these guys play and play.
They ref the same way throughout, from the beginning to the end, and they didn't allow stuff. I'm a firm believer of if refs call the game and call the penalties, all the penalties stop happening by the players. The only reason penalties that don't get called happen is because the referees are not calling them.
We had a few things that I would think mid-season there would be a lot more. It looked like at the end of the first half, Steve Priolo stomped on Zed Williams. It looked like a stomp. He wound up getting a 2-minute tripping penalty, of all things. 5 would have come to mind just for the action itself, but I don't know. At the end of the game, Matt Vince had lost his cool and went after one of the Colorado players, started throwing punches.
In that, actually.
Yep, and started throwing punches, and there was no penalties called. So, I would assume that during the year, we would have seen roughing minimum.
I think at that point, I don't think it wasn't like the game was, for all intents and purposes, was over.
It was.
And there was something that was going on. But what I'm talking about is during the game, when the game is on the balance, or in the balance, not making calls, penalty calls can affect the game. And, it didn't deteriorate. And it was late in the game as well. Like if he had done that 3-4 minutes earlier, you would have got your wish, Gary. You would have been in the box. Or anyway, he would have had a penalty.
But, onward and upwards, and the league is starting to announce their finalists now for awards. And we shall see soon for who's going to take home all the hardware. And another thing, as of noon today, all the teams had to have their protected lists in, because on the 7th of July, we're going to have another expansion draft. The Las Vegas Desert Dogs are going to become a reality as opposed to just a logo. And Sean Williams will be picking, being the GM. And we're going to see. But that team, again, we're talking about this league now draws blue chip ownerships, and of course owned by the conglomerate of Joe Tsai, Wayne Gretzky, Dustin Johnson, Steve Nash. And we're going to see what they do. Some interesting things that I noticed on these lists. Toronto isn't protecting any of their goalies. Saskatchewan isn't protecting any of their goalies. Vancouver is, though. And I would suspect that Vancouver needs a goalie. And I wouldn't have wasted a spot with Alex Bouquet. But San Diego didn't protect Scigliano, but they protected Chris Olivieri. Interesting. I would have suspected that Georgia would have left Craig Wendy off because with Mike Poulin, but I guess with Mike Poulin, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
however, if you want to build around somebody for a year or two, and then move forward, that option I guess is there. But they protected Craig Wendy on that list. Obviously, Colorado protected Dylan Ward. Obviously, Buffalo protected Matt Vince. Obviously, Calgary protected Christian Del Bianco. These are main staple. Doug Jameson for Albany. A lot of these things, these lists are they're no brainers of who's protected, and you're going to lose somebody, and you hope it's not too severe to your team.
And this is a good opportunity for Las Vegas because they're the only ones drafting the players, right? They're not competing with another team coming in, so they'll get more better players that way, and they've got a choice of a couple of goaltenders, and it depends what direction they want to go. Gary, is there any idea of are they going to be going for young guys? Are they going to be going for guys with experience? In other words, do they want to win immediately? Do they feel the need to win immediately, or do they want to build for the future?
It looks, and from all rumblings that I've heard, the only thing I've heard is they're going to build from the back out, from the goalie outward,
position-wise.
Yeah, and
age.
Yeah, and they're gonna build as best they can that way and bolster the team that they choose here with the entry draft in August, and build that way and see what they can come up with. I think it's a great idea. It's of course the Derek Keenan strategy, which has worked for many years with many teams. But it's interesting, just to see the list, and of course, I was looking at Panther City too, because one of the protected players, of course, is a first-round pick that hasn't played for them yet, Jonathan Donville, who had a stellar NCAA career. He had a stellar junior career here in Ontario, and is going to be a huge addition onto the Panther City Lacrosse Club, who was already bolstering up. But for that offense, with Dan Teed as their coach, their offensive coordinator, you're looking at Phil Caputo, Patrick Dodds, Jonathan Donville, Nathan Grennan, who he had as a junior and as on the Brampton team. I would have suspected, they have Randy Stoss, but I have a feeling that he might be up for trade bait at some point, because
who do you see them picking as their goaltender?
I wouldn't be surprised if Riley Hutchcraft from Toronto goes over to Vegas. He's a really good goalie. When he played with Mimico Junior A, he was a lot of the reason why they had so much success. He will never get out of the Nick Rose shadow here in Toronto, and that's a big thing. And as much as I like Riley and as much as I want to keep him here, he deserves a chance to have his career bolster and be what it can be. He just as a prime example, Major Series Lacrosse, he played last night against Six Nations, and I believe the game went into overtime. I believe he faced 71 shots. No, they lost 11-10.
Busy.
Yeah, he made 60 saves. There was 131 shots between the two teams. I think it was 71-60. And it was a crazy game for it to be Warren Hill, of course, playing for Six Nations of the Halifax Thunderbirds. Um, and the more crazy thing is that Six Nations played Peterborough the night before and won 11-10 there too.
Jeez.
So Warren Hill had two very, very busy nights, and he was stellar with two victories. Six Nations, now that MSL has, well, I guess we can get on to that story, really. They have decided to play with four teams. A lot of things happened in the last week. Some good, some not so great.
But they're going to play. That's the
They're
important
playing.
part
That's
of
the
this
good thing.
battle.
That's the good thing. They found a way to cohabitate long enough to get a season in, even though there's only four teams. Jamie Dawick had said enough's enough, and he pulled Oakville out of the MSL this year and said, we'll rejoin you in 2023, figure out your problems, and we'll come back. Um, and of course, we have the Brampton Owen Sound thing that's still looming large, and how they figure that one out. Well, dialect court, I don't know which one's going to be. It's that's up to them to figure out. But apparently, one's going to have that franchise, and the other one's going to have a an expansion franchise. Which one gets it? Well, that's up to them to figure out for now. But Doug Louie, the commissioner through all this, stepped aside. He stepped down. Doug's a good guy, and Doug, as Jamie had said on his interview with Jumbo Elliott, um, he's taking all the flack, but he's doing what the MSL Board of Governors is telling him what to do. Right? He works for them, so yeah, he stood there and took all the bullets, but he was doing the mandate that was given to him. So in comes Lynn Withers, um, who was part of a lot of the Peterborough organization. She was unanimously voted in as the interim commissioner. They decided that they're going to go with a four-team league and presented that to the Ontario Lacrosse Association. Now, in the OLA's charter, it was if you didn't have six teams, you were supposed to jump in with the Senior B, but Senior B is already halfway through, so that wasn't going to work. So they tried to make sure that, for a number of reasons. One, you want to get these guys playing. Two, you have places like Peterborough who have television deals, who have advertising, who have season tickets. The place is sold out. It's a 3,500 seat arena, and it's sold out for every game. That's a lot of money from a major series lacrosse team to have to try and find a way to give back. So they had all that. So they wanted to get this season in, and of course, you wanted to have a representation for the Mann Cup, and it's in Ontario this year. So you definitely wanted to have a season because you wanted to have the Mann Cup played. We've missed two already because of COVID, so we want to have the Mann Cup. So here we are, and through this team, they've figured out a balanced schedule. It seems a little hokey. Everybody's going to play each other four times. The first couple of weeks, it seemed as only Peterborough and Coburg were playing. Peterborough was able to win both of those meetings. Poor Coburg. They have a good team, but they're waiting on a few pieces. They're waiting especially on Joey Capito, who's been busy winning a cup in the NLL. So, they'll get there. Brooklyn, they say they played a great game last night. If it wasn't for a 5-minute penalty at the end of the third period, I believe they had that game won with Six Nations. And with that 5-minute penalty came 3 goals, tied a game up. Overtime, Brendan Bonbury, scores a couple of minutes in, and that's all she wrote. But it's just great to see them playing. It's great to see Six Nations, who a couple of years ago had rumblings that they were going to say, it's enough. Our attendance is down. We can't afford to put a team on. They're playing, which is, thank God, because this thing couldn't run on 3 teams.
No, and Six Nations is an important and integral part of the league.
Absolutely.
It is, the Makers game. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, the interesting thing is that right away, I noticed a couple of Oakville players, since they're not playing, elsewhere. I noticed Brad Kriat in the Western Lacrosse Association. I watched Challen Rogers over in the PLL. He was smart enough to go and find his paycheck out there. He's a damn good field player too. So immediate impact too. He had 2 goals last week. So, so it's what it is. What it is, and I'm just happy that we have games, and we have another game tonight. Peterborough's playing tonight, and away we go. They're playing Brooklyn, so we'll see how well Brooklyn plays again after last night's long game. Tall task to be playing, 3-time defending Man Cup champion, Peterborough Lakers. But again, it's going to be in front of 3,500 people. So if you can't get up for that, especially in the summer.
What a thrill it must be, though, if you have a team and one of your players won the NLL championship and you show
Yeah,
up.
definitely.
Great for the fans, great for the teams, great for the players, great for the league.
Absolutely. And we've been lucky enough, thank God that the WLA, the Western Lacrosse Association, has they're very quietly under the radar, playing their season along and having some absolutely spectacular games. It's funny because the one thing that keeps coming to mind there, we're talking about goaltending, is Christian Del Bianco. Christian Del Bianco of Calgary Roughneck fame, who plays for the Coquitlam Adanacs. I don't know how many games he's had where he is, shall I say, stolen. They're 5-2 right now, but on a couple of those victories, he's had over 50 shots, and at least one of them I remember him making over 60 saves.
Wow.
Yeah, he's seen a lot of run. Makes me wonder about the defense on that team. But I guess if you have him there, you can take a few chances and go with transition and do all the other things.
The offensive play starts with a rebound.
It does, or a long lead pass from your goalie. If you have that ability to thread the needle, 30, 40 yards up the floor, away you go. The Victoria Shamrocks, who are always in the thick of it, they're leading the league. They're 5-1 right now. They've had a stellar game. In fact, their only loss came to Coquitlam. You have, of course, the Timbermen, who are 4-4. The one that's worrying me a little bit, and I've brought it up on my other show too a number of weeks, is the New West Salmon Bellies. Now, they are a team that is normally up there, and they are waiting in the West. They're 3-5. But what really was that really kind of made me go, was last Sunday's game against Nanaimo, and they lost 12-2. It's one thing if you're having a little rough dispatch and you're losing 10-8, 12-9, 8-6, 12-2. You had no offense to speak of, none, 0, and that is a little bit concerning for me. I would assume.
You don't think it's a one-off?
I'm hoping not, but like I say, they're 3-5 so far this year. They haven't wowed me on anything in any week. The weeks that they've won, they've also lost. They haven't had one of those weeks where they've won both their games and moved forward. You have teams like the Berards, who are 1-4. You have the Lakers, always a Laker, Burnaby, who is 2-5. But if you look on these teams, their lineups aren't flush with NLL players, whereas opposed to a Victoria, which is, a Victoria. If I just pull up the roster, the first thing that comes across is from Calgary, Jesse and Marshall King. When we had the coach of Victoria on, right? He talked about Jesse as being the most complete player around. You also have Reese Dutch. You also have Jacob Rouet, Larson Sundown. You have a number of players from the NLL. So they're primed. And in net, of course, Pete Dubinsky, who is no stranger to NLL either, and he's having a great summer. So it's I see it being the Adanacs and Shamrocks more or less running away with things. The Timbermen holding on to stay third, but then there's a big drop off. So we'll see. But like I say, Brad Cree has been up there playing with the teams in there. So I'm expecting a couple of other guys will probably show up there, and we'll see. If we want to change gears just a second, I want to go into the PLL a little bit.
Well,
Um,
you touched it a little bit. You can
Might as well
continue.
continue with it a little bit. Yeah. Um, One of the things, Chaos, the defending champions, they're 0-3 right now. But pretty soon they're going to have their team back. Their team is the Buffalo Bandits. Josh Byrne, Dane Smith, Chase Fraser, they're all part of that team. And of course, they've been busy fighting for a cup, so they haven't been able to make it there. So I'm interested to see what this week's Chaos, as opposed to last week and the week before's Chaos, is all about. Um, the team that kind of concerns me a little bit is the Cannons, and they look really good in their first week. They wound up addressing one of their big issues, which is face-offs. They were from pillar to post kicked around last year on face-offs. I think they wound up with a 30% overall for the year on face-offs, and they wound up picking up Stephen Kelly, and he was spectacular in his first game. Not so great second game. Third game, he was decent again. He's I believe 51% face-offs, but
And
he's a
then Manny scored 5 goals.
yeah,
It's not
he's a
bad.
big reason why they're up there. But you have Lyle Thompson on that team, so right away you're thinking, oh boy, But they just haven't seemed to be able to be consistent. But the game they did, they shut down Atlas. So of all things, Atlas to me, and that's my team. I like Atlas. Always have liked Atlas, and it's got of course Jeff Teat on it. And he's online again to make a lot of headlines because, he's looking to be MVP again. You can't.
Speaking of headlines, Joe Rabel posted the fact that ABC, the network in the U.S. for the first time since 1977,
Mhm.
showing lacrosse. Which
Amazing,
is
eh?
back to what we've been talking about all along. Is about the attention that it's getting, and are you ready?
It's exactly, and they have the same deal. They have the TSN ESPN deal where every game is broadcast. A good chunk of them on the main network. But if you can't get it there, of course, you can get it on any of their online stuff. Um, Pretty amazing stuff, And to say the ABC game, that was just incredible. It's just so good to see that is where it's going to be, and they're going to do something for lacrosse. I don't even know when they put this together if they knew they were going to do it as a big thing, because come February when they have their Champions Series, where the top 4 teams make it into this tournament.
The pool, yeah.
Yeah, that they're going to be doing it as Lacrosse 6. And I believe you brought it up, being it in their head office in LA, and, going to be doing this stuff probably in LA where the weather's good. Um, you'll get the Hollywood guys in there and the TV producers and trying to figure out all the best angles, how to shoot it, where to shoot it, whom to shoot it with, and all the other things, and all the tinkering that will go on, so that they have 5 years before the Olympics where they debut it to get all the bugs out, so that we are going to see the best of the best at the Olympic thing, where you have eyes from how many countries? 180, 200 countries.
And then the obvious, to understand the game of six, because it's a new game. It's one that
Mhm.
they're going to have to educate themselves on. So this gives them a lead in to understanding, how to play this game, because playing it is different than thinking about it. So,
Well, yeah. And, instead of trying to just explain it to somebody, you're going to
get
actually
on the
get a
floor
chance to,
or
you're going to
get on
actually
the
have a
field.
chance to do it, see it, live it. Probably the same way when they first introduced rugby sevens. You're wondering what in the heck is that? But, they were able to make that work for TV and for the Olympics. And I think this is going to be a pretty cool thing. They've tried it in a few test markets in other things. World Lacrosse has put out the sixes and have had really good reviews on how it's come across. And I think that this is going to be just a major success. But it also goes into another thing, is being that this is going to happen in February. It's in the heart of the NLL season. And with that, you can't be using the NLL players, obviously. what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If they can't play for, this one, they can't be playing if you're playing on the NLL team. So they're going to be going into their player pool on guys who didn't get a chance to play, may not have made the teams, but are part of the league, and they're going to have a chance to make a statement of how they play. A lot of NCAA guys, I'm sure, and who knows? Who knows how their careers take off? And these teams take note, and the next summer you see a lot of these guys coming
Absolutely.
and having a chance to get that paycheck as well. Because remember, the pay there is was about $38,000, so probably the best pay they've seen, as well as year-on health benefits and profit sharing.
That's the key.
There's a lot of things going on in there that the Rabel brothers, both Paul and Mike, are very, very smart on how to do this, and very savvy to how to bring this across and market it. So I really don't have any concerns on if the game is in good hands.
Yeah, it's marketing, and it's also the commitment of the participants, because the players have a lot to gain promoting the game. They're not waiting for a paycheck. If they have sharing, if there's profit sharing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
then what happens is quite frankly, let's be clear here. You work a little harder if you think you're getting a piece. There's always a little more energy because you're making some money. And I'm not trying to suggest that people don't try, players don't try, but I am saying that when you have some skin in the game, literally, it helps. It helps motivate you, right? And everybody cares about the league because everybody's got something to gain. So it's important, and the reputation it creates in people like you and myself and anybody that's looking from the outside, saying, "Oh wow, they're paying for benefits. Oh, they're sharing the profits.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're getting a decent salary." Yeah, when you look at the number within the sports world, it may not be that impressive, but when you look at lacrosse, it's not that bad.
No, but you're also looking at the growing value and looking at the
Absolutely.
shares growing. And I think that's the thing. It's just one thing to take a look at a number of views, but take a look at what the number of views were last year and where it is this year and where it's going to be projected to be next year. Because I think that those numbers are going to be, it's your megaphone. It's just going to expand and away you go. Because like McDavis said when he was on, Vice President of Marketing, the two things he thinks about is butts and seats and views. That's it. That's all he thinks about 24/7. That's his job. And he's very good at it. And
What does it take to get there?
And they have one thing in the PLL that I wish the NLL would have, and I've talked about this a number of times with you, and that's the All-Star game and the All-Star weekend. Not so much the game itself. The game itself is fun, as it's kind of like watching the Pro Bowl, right? You're going to see a lot of scoring.
Absolutely.
But when you start watching the skills competitions, now, again, I reckon back to, John Grant Jr. and all of his stuff on YouTube and things like that of trick shots from inside the Colorado arena and, from the press box and from the floor and through the little speaker thing in the glass, and, how you can do all of that stuff is amazing. Watching the control and watching these guys when they start going into fastest shot competition. I said last year, I think it was 117.5 miles per hour is the winner. You're a goalie without equipment. 117 miles per hour. Wow. And I think the runner-up was 117 miles per hour.
Yeah. Amazing.
Let alone some of the other skills and target shooting and all the other. I think back. I brought up at the beginning of the show the Howie Meeker thing, but I remember. Remember when we're growing up was Showdown in the intermissions, and watching the skills of the players. And that was really the first time I had seen these skills competitions, because it really wasn't in the All-Star thing yet. It was just an All-Star game. But that Showdown 76 or 77 or whatever it was.
Yeah, between periods.
Yeah.
For those that may
watching these players and do target practice and do all the things that they could do as a little kid, wow. It's more than just, passing and shooting. Look at what these guys can do individually. And the Premier Lacrosse League has done it. They did it last year. They have the All-Star weekend again this year. I'm hoping that somebody in the NLL offices is going, hey, we'll go one less bye week this week for everybody, and we'll have an All-Star weekend. because now, especially with the TV deals the way they are, this would be the cherry on the sundae. If you want to get views, show a skills competition with some of these guys and what they can do. Show the speed of this. Show the defensive prowess of this thing. Show the goalies on what they can do. Let alone the hardest shot and
But when
targets.
you were talking about the hardest shot, if you've never been hit by a lacrosse ball, it just because it bounces doesn't mean it isn't hard.
It will leave a welt, if
It
not
will
more
leave a
than that.
good mark, and it's a fair size too. So yeah,
Yeah, you'll know.
117 miles an hour.
That's nothing to sneeze at. But the game itself too was a lot of fun, and the guys all had a lot of fun doing it. And some of the extracurricular things after scoring, and just fun stuff. Hamming it up for the cameras, and just to show the human side of it too. These aren't robots. These are guys playing and having a good time doing what they love.
Yeah.
And for so many years, they've had to just do it for the love of and really make nothing or next to nothing. Now they're starting to make money, and it's ground floor, and we're all very lucky to be here at the ground floor of something very, very special, because it's going to be something very, very big along the way. And I see nothing but upside while we're doing this, and I'm really hoping that the NLL runs with it. They need to find a commissioner. Brian Lemon did a great job filling in. He's VP, but they need to find a commissioner, the next Sakavitz, to bring this vision to the next level.
Did we find out where he went? Has he gone anywhere
He's
yet?
the Arizona Coyotes. I believe he's
Okay.
one of the head of something or the other in there, but he's going to right that ship, and I have no doubt that he will. That's just Nick. But Jessica Berman, she was touted to be the next commissioner. She became the commissioner of women's soccer. So
They've got some great minds passing through there. The league has done well the past couple of years as far as picking up good stewards of the game,
mhm,
right? And that's important right now. The big thing is that we talked a little bit about Vegas coming in. When
mhm,
Vegas went into the NFL, it was a big deal, and we know how big a deal it was for those of us that live in Canada when Vegas went into hockey there.
yep,
So going into lacrosse, it's going to give it a little spike. There's going to be, we talk about the Olympics, but going to Vegas, that's a big deal. That is
it's a
a
big
really
deal.
big deal.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you're taking a look at the ownership groups that are coming in. These aren't fly-by-night owners. All these ownership groups are well-to-do. These are guys who are billionaires and have found they can smell a deal 400 miles away.
Well, they
And
think they're getting in on the ground floor, right? They,
absolutely.
they they see the growth possibility,
Hmm.
and well, I like the fact that they're expanding consistently. They've every every major league likes to have around 30 some odd teams, right? 32 teams, whatever.
Hmm.
They're a bit of ways from that, but it's getting to the point now where lacrosse and the players that they have, players are going to be very lucky. They're going to have a great opportunity to play some professional lacrosse. The
Yeah.
opportunities are endless.
The other thing is that all these cities aren't just opening up a door, throwing down a carpet. They
Yeah,
have youth programs starting up. They have players doing community stuff. So it's the word is spreading throughout the communities they're in and surrounding areas. And now with TV is going into areas it may never have gotten into. So
absolutely.
the future is very, very bright. I look forward to seeing an awful lot
O-
of really
Okay,
good.
we'll have to leave it there, Gary. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure, Frank. It's always a great day when we get to talk about lacrosse.
Absolutely. For Gary Groob, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching an NLL Lacrosse Talk. Seen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For lacrosse talk, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you for watching. Oh, my voice almost didn't make it to the end. Thanks, Gary, for carrying the load.
Oh, no
Till
problem at
ne-
all, Frank.
till
Take
next time.